Warning, massive spoilers ahead for Dead Space 1, 2, and 3. In this video, we will once again be delving into the lore of the Dead Space franchise, this time looking through the history and life of Isaac Clarke. On the 5th of June 2465, Isaac Clarke would be born. Within his childhood, he would live with his parents Octavia and Paula Clarke. Paula was a well-known shipbuilder who was employed within the Galactic Union Marine Corporation. Within his time, he would amass a considerable estate, in addition to achieving multiple awards and commendations for his work. Octavia Clarke would be Isaac's mother and married to Paula. She would from time to time suffer from depression due to the nature of Paula's working schedule. Paula would need to take an extended duration away from home on multiple occasions. The only break that he would get from this would be when he would be transferred back to Earth, and again when Isaac would be born. Paula would have to go away again, on a job to an unknown location. However, at the age of 4, Isaac would never see his father again. The government would also have files on Paula labeled as top secret. Octavia would be encouraged by her psychiatrist to find something meaningful in her life for an emotional anchor. She would eventually find herself within the grasp of the Church of Unitology, becoming a proud believer within their organization. In Isaac's later years, he would take after his father's side and obtain an education within electrical and mechanical engineering. However, he would not be able to afford the tuition fees, as his mother, so entranced by Unitology's gaze, donated all of her family funds to the church in exchange for a title known as the Vested. This would lead Isaac to have a great disdain towards the religion. Isaac would have to go to a cheaper and lesser college than the one he wanted to go to. However, despite his financial difficulties, Isaac would graduate with high honors by becoming a ship systems engineer within the Concordiance Extraction Corporation. Several years later, Isaac would enlist his skills within the Merchant Marines Division of the CEC, who are tasked with patrolling and maintaining security along commercial shipping lanes between colonies, allowing Isaac to test his abilities and to improve upon them within original engineering. Impressing his superiors by his progression, Isaac would be promoted to a position that would be closer to the major shipping lanes. Sometime later within his life, Isaac would complete repair jobs on board the USG Ishimura. At some point during this time within his life, Isaac would meet Nicole and begin dating her within a year or so. He would build a relationship with her and live with her from time to time between jobs. Isaac would push Nicole to become more ambitious, soon pushing her on board the Ishimura to work within the ship. However, while Nicole was working in her assignment in the medical bay decks, Isaac's career would start to stagnate. 2 years later, at the age of 43, Isaac would volunteer to be part of an emergency response team that was attached to the USG Kellyan. The crew would be dispatched to the location of the Ishimura within the Aegis cluster. Their mission would be to investigate the distress signals and to discover the reason behind the communications blackout. Within the Ishimura, the team would venture into the flight lounge, and after running diagnostics, they were soon attacked by vicious, reanimated corpses known only as necromorphs. Isaac would get separated from Hammond and Kendra within the carnage as the two pilots were picked off with general ease. Miraculously, Isaac survived the ambush and would reunite with Hammond and Kendra, who would send him on several missions throughout their time on the ship. While on board, Isaac from time to time would get glimpses of his girlfriend, whether that be on monitors or from radio transmissions. He would eventually find her, and the two would help each other in their joint survival of the events. After Hammond's death and Kendra's betrayal, Isaac would pilot a shuttle down to the planet with the special cargo, Marker 3A. Isaac would place the marker back where it belonged, defeating the outbreak. However, Kendra would simply stop and trap him, revealing that Nicole has been dead the whole time, and that the marker had been using her as an apparition in order to get him to do its bidding. Isaac had caught up to Kendra, who would be killed by the hive mind. It would go for Isaac, however he countered its every move, eventually defeating it for a short retreat. He then took off, narrowly missing the continent falling from the sky. and as the shuttle flew away, he watched the impact as a huge explosion would occur, giving off a massive flash of white. A little while later, Isaac would sit back and prepare to fly to an unknown location, perhaps Earth, when he would be attacked by an hallucination, becoming haunted by a necromorph version of his deceased girlfriend. Isaac would send out a distress call, which would be heard by nearby ships, who would contact the proper authorities. He would be collected by a recovery patrol that was commanded by Captain Maximilian Reinhardt. They would place him under stasis shortly after his rescue, and Isaac would be taken to Titan Station. He would meet Nolan Strauss there, and a few others, while being subjected to experimentation within a machine to pluck the marker codes out of their heads, to develop mental blueprints in order to build a new marker. Dr. Foster would have one-on-one talks with Isaac, asking him questions about his time around Aegis 7 and within the Ishimura, expecting answers in great detail. The annual visits to the machine and checkups with Dr. Foster would be a reoccurring schedule for the next 3 years. 3 years later, he would awake from his stasis-induced sleep by Franco Delia. Isaac would awaken from his slumber, confused and dazed, asking where he is. As Franco is about to tell him of the outbreak, an infector gave Franco the rebirth he has always dreamed of. Or perhaps not. Isaac would try to recount the events of what happened after the Ishimura and the Aegis 7 colony's destruction, but would fail as the marker's gift bestowed upon him in the events of Dead Space have some very nasty side effects. For instance, dementia, and the hallucinations of Nicole that would haunt him through the corrupted hallways of Titan Station. Isaac would get contacted by a unitologist named Dana, who would direct Isaac to the church, where she planned on putting him under stasis and transported to another location so he can build markers and pave the pathway to glorious convergence for the entire galaxy. He would escape their grasp and get contacted by Strauss, who would convince him that they could destroy the marker. Making his way to Strauss, he would come across another survivor, Ellie Langford. At first, she was very hesitant towards Isaac and hostile towards Strauss. However, when the life support to the public sector had been shut down, she decided to help them. Throughout his journey to the marker, Isaac would face some very taxing challenges, but through perseverance and some fast thinking, he would overcome them. However, Strauss would behave in the opposite, nearly killing Ellie, forcing Isaac to intervene within the Titan minds, resulting in Strauss's death. Isaac would attempt to save Ellie from this nightmare by locking her inside a gunship and launching it. He would then defeat Tideman's forces by releasing the Scourge upon them, aligning Isaac's interests with the necromorphs for a short time. He would follow the blood, the gore, the carnage, until he found the marker and the machine. After completing one last session, Isaac would fight his way to the marker, and after a face-off with Tideman, he would hug Nicole before being transported into a realm within his own demented mind, where he would defeat Nicole and somehow through this act destroy the marker through his sheer determination and willpower. As the station was about to detonate due to the government sector core overheating, Ellie would save Isaac, and as they fly away, they watched Sproul explode. After escaping Titan Station, Ellie and Isaac went into hiding as to prevent prosecution or accusations of terrorism. During these events, he would become romantically involved with Ellie, and they shortly took up residence together in the Earthrise apartments on the New Horizon lunar colony that would overlook Earth. Despite ridding himself of the marker grip on his mentality, Isaac would still suffer from the after effects of the marker. Within his mind would contain the secrets in constructing these accursed obelisks and also to destroy them. However, Isaac's inability to move on and in his pursuit to live a normal life, or at least lay low, had pushed Ellie out of the door, as she would be looking for a way to put an end to the necromorph scourge still plaguing the galaxy. In 2515, the colony would come under siege by the Circle, a unitologist subfaction stemming from their core beliefs. They would be looking for Isaac, aka the Marker Killer. This is where Carver and Norton would enter his apartment and issue for his cooperation. Isaac would defy them until the subject of his ex-lover would be brought into the conversation. He would reluctantly agree to jump back into that meat grinder of a scenario again. As they were to leave, the unitologist would attack and separate Isaac and Carver from Norton. Isaac and Carver would head to the extraction point. However, they would meet Danik, who had slaughtered the EarthGov soldiers for their heresy.
There's something I'd like you to see. There. You see that? That's a marker test lab. They're everywhere at all the major colonies and outposts.
What do you want from me?
As part of the marker test program, Isaac, you helped make them. And today, you of all people get to watch me set them free.
No. No. You'll kill everyone.
Death is only the beginning, Isaac. Nature must take its course, and I can't allow you or anyone else to stop that. Eyes forward, Isaac. Pay attention. And now it's time for you to join the cycle of rebirth.
After waking up, Carver and Isaac would come face to face with new variations of necromorphs. Overcoming them, they would start up a train to get out of the colony at Washington Station. Danik would catch on to this and send his men to assassinate them before Norton could get to them. The Eudora would fly over as the train departed the station and destroy some of the engaging unitologist shuttles. As Isaac and Carver made their escape with the Eudora, they would travel to Tau Volantis to find Ellie and her team before it would be too late. However, they would find ambient hostilities from the defenses that were activated from the Sovereign Colony's purge. Escaping the exploring Eudora, they would come to the USM Roanoke, where they would find Ellie, Buckle, and Santos holding out.
I knew you were too stubborn to die.
Captain, is this him?
Yeah, that's him.
Isaac Clarke. Great to meet you. Austin Buckle, Marker Ops. This here is Jennifer Santos, our little lady with the big brain.
If it's true you can decipher the marker script, this mission might still have a chance.
Isaac, thank you for coming.
Like I had a choice.
I know, I'm sorry. But I have so much to tell you.
All right, come on. We have to get out of here now.
No, not yet. Isaac, we need to stop the marker. The trail ends at the Admiral's quarters. She'd written marker scroll all over the walls. The answers are in there. I know it. We cannot leave until we know what it says.
Yeah, well, then let Isaac handle the translating. We're leaving now. I got Buckle, you get Santos. Let's go.
Oh.
Go on, take care of your crew. They need you more than I do.
This encounter would surprise Isaac, making him feel embarrassed and a little awkward towards the realization that Ellie is over him and their past relationship so soon. Isaac and Carver would find their way to the Admiral's quarters, and Isaac would feel the effects of the marker claw back into his mind, helping him to translate the inscriptions on the wall left behind by Graves. They would find to escape back to civilization, they would have to find an alternative transport. Buckle would direct Isaac and Carver to the Terra Nova to find the CMS Crozier. Ellie would protest about going to the planet's surface to find the machine, the source of the markers, and to turn it off, thus stopping all of the markers in the known galaxy in their tracks. Norton would disregard this and continue to state that they are going home, and gave no indication to suggest that she and her team would be sticking around to proceed with their mission. At this point in time, Isaac would be on Norton's side, wanting to stay clear of outbreaks and to get back to his own solitary confinement. He and Carver would find the shuttle, and Ellie would, in her confusion of the ancient technology, accidentally activate the launch cycle. Isaac and Carver would cautiously make their way through the burning decks and to the gear room, to get the ship's bay doors to release and open. They would be under constant harassment from the necromorphs, alongside explosive barrels being sucked into the gears. However, through their stress and sheer will, they succeeded. They would soon head back to the Roanoke, collecting the parts for the shuttle they would need on the way. Isaac would soon have a change of heart and vouch to go along with the mission to the planet's surface to find the machine and to turn it off, facing Tau Volantis' horrors so no one else would have to. During their treacherous journey through the icy glaciers, the ship would break up mid-descent, killing Rosen and Locke. The ship would then break into two pieces and land several miles apart from one another. Throughout his journey, Isaac would be thinking on past events, friends and colleagues and even enemies dying in front of him thanks to the markers, and every death on Tau Volantis would tug and pull on him. This would be emotionally tearing him up inside, feeling as if his soul were being ripped to pieces, much like all of the necromorphs he has slain over the years. On their travels, Carver and Isaac would find Buckle dying of hypothermia. Later on, Isaac would kill Norton out of self-defense as to prevent his own demise. He would then try to save Santos but fail as the cable had been cut by Carver as to prevent Santos taking them down with her. Isaac would flip out at this point, stating that he could have saved her if he had another second. In reality, there was nothing he could have done to save her. Isaac would soon find out the truth when presented with a vision of the planet's dark and tragic past, where Danik and his men would overhear this discovery. He would take the codex from Isaac and run to the drill site to turn the machine off, resuming convergence. In this situation, Isaac would fail to save his beloved Ellie from the gases that would burn any flesh within seconds. He would be forced to seal her in, saving Carver and himself. He would break down at this point, but slowly pick himself back up with some help from Carver. Isaac would have one thought in his head: vengeance for Ellie's death. However, Isaac and Carver would find the truth of the situation, that they could destroy the moon using the codex to reconfigure the machine. And so that's what they did. After retrieving the device from Danik, they prepared the machine to destroy the moon, but Danik had one more trick up his sleeve. In an attempt to tug on Isaac's strings, Danik would use Ellie as a hostage to take back control and to resume the convergence event. Isaac refused to back down and give in to Danik's negotiation attempts. Thinking of the bigger picture, if convergence resumed, they would be as good as dead, and not just them, but all of humanity, civilians, unitology, the remnants of EarthGov, everyone. Despite this, Carver froze the codex to Danik, saving Ellie, but in the transaction, the machine's veil had been lifted to reveal the Brethren moon.
Done it! The darkness is at an end. Let the evolution begin!
Isaac and Carver would be successful in defeating the Blood Moon and would destroy it using the machine. They would then lose their footing and fall back to the surface of Tau Volantis. As he fell, Isaac would stare at his picture of Ellie until he eventually could no longer hold on to it. But it was not the end. Isaac and Carver would awake inside an icy ravine, shocked at how they could survive. Isaac is just grateful that he survived the fall, and states that he stopped making sense of it all since the Ishimura. Isaac and Carver would fight their way through necromorphs and hallucinations to get to a shuttle, to find its shock point drive is not working. They would travel to the Terra Nova to fix the ship so that they could get back to Earth to warn them. However, they would soon come face to face with the necrologists, fighting these twisted variations of unitologists and even themselves. They would soon end the conflict with the life of the cult believer, the Prophet, but in doing so, they learned a horrific truth.
You can kill the Prophet, but you can't kill the God. Your chance to war the Earth has come and gone. We are coming. We are hungry. We are here.
they would fix the ship and shock point to Earth space as soon as possible, only to learn that the truth the prophets spoke of was indeed a grim reality. Isaac's whereabouts are unclear at this point in time, as he is presumed dead, but there is no evidence of such a case, just speculation. Isaac would go MIA at the age of 49 years old. From becoming renowned in his trade like his father before him, to becoming one of the most important people in the entire galaxy to unitologists and survivors alike, to defeating a godlike necromorph, Isaac's legacy or story is one of courage, which is being afraid but having the strength to do what he knew to be right. He would put the needs of others before his own, and doing the right thing even at the cost of his own life. Most survivors of necromorph outbreaks were lucky enough to have survived one. This engineer, armed with a plasma cutter, had survived 3 outbreaks, defeating the terror time in and time out. If Isaac has survived, you know that he is keeping the flame of humanity alive, or perhaps has become something far worse. Thank you for watching. I hope this video satisfied your hunger for the Dead Space lore. Well, at least for now anyway. If you enjoyed, hit the video up with a like rating. Comment something for me to read later on, and I look forward to hearing from you. And if you're new here, then sign up to join the British Alliance today by subscribing and ringing in the notification bell for updates about future content and posts, and I will see all of you on the front lines. And have a good one.